being different fucking meant you stood out. So my mum and dad were bikers, but the rest of the town where I grew up in was like an old mining town. So like a lot of people had left. There was a lot of fucking empty buildings, and like it was just a real rough fucking place. So when you're growing up with a mullet in primary school, where everyone's got like fucking short back and sides, it's like you stand out a little. It was a bit rough.
Hi, welcome back to the Headbangers podcast, where your hosts Nathan and Brad. Here today we're joined by Max from Higher Power. How are you doing, man? Start off with.
I'm good, boys. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Good, man. No, not a problem at all. So it's very gracious to have such a great Leeds band on here representing the good scene. So
nice.
I want to start off with like a little icebreaker first. What's your funniest gig or tour story?
This is like, so this one's been bugging me. When I got sent the questions, I was like, fuck, like what's safe to sell and what's like what's also funny and not
okay,
just like
safe space, Max. You can say what you want.
Not just dangerous stuff. I'm trying to think, because this one's like there's so many. There's like when we were on our way to play. This one's actually what I'll tell, because this one's music related as well. But like when we were on the way to like the Czech Republic to go and play Brutal Assault Fest, which it was a festival we'd had to bail on like 2 years before. So we'd ended up taking this show at like the agreed guarantee like from 2 years before, but just on the honor system of like, sorry, we couldn't make it last time. But as we were on the way over there, like as soon as we get through the border, like we tried getting a vignette, which is basically road tax for a year in that country that's attached to your van. And this fucking copper pulls up behind us and he's flashing his lights. And I like run out of the van, get over to the station to buy the vignette. And as like, I'm waiting to get it, like he's talking to like our driver, Sheep. And it's this old guy, really short, kind of chubby. And he's just like, obviously got fucking nothing better to do with his day. And like sees the UK number plate as well. So like since Brexit's been a thing, like traveling in Europe with UK number plates has been a fucking nightmare. But I come back over with the vignette and the guy's complaining about the paperwork not being in check and the rental not being in check and blah, 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 blah. And everything was legit because we'd sorted it out and everything was insured and correct. So we're arguing. I put the vignette on, so you can't do us for that. And then this young, like kind of hench copper comes out and he's got like one tattoo sleeve and he just kind of like tells the guy, he's like, go. And the old guy walks off kind of pissed off, and the young guy checks everything out, and it's obviously like all chill, everything's sound. And he was like, which one of you is the singer? He was like, are you going to the show, the rock concert? He was like, are you playing? And we were like, yeah. He's like, when do you have to be there? He's like, we're like 3 hours. He's like, you've got a long way to go. And he's like, which one is the singer? And like, we point Jimmy out, he's got the red hair, and he comes to the front of the van, and he's like, sing All the Small Things. And so Jimmy sings All the Small Things to this police officer up to like whatever point. Like it was an uncomfortable amount of like the song without like any music or anything. It was really weird. And then he was just like, you can go. And we were just like, what the fuck was that? Like it was so weird, so peculiar. But we've had like honestly so many mental stories from like shit that's happened on tour, like crazy things, because we've just done it so much. Like America is just like, we've seen a corpse, we've had a gun pulled on us, me and Ethan got caught with a lot of banned substances of the green variety. And we had a lot of it because it was just after we'd been robbed, so we'd like had a bunch of our friends give us some as like hate to hear that, here's some weed, this will make you feel a bit better. Sorry, some green stuff. Like we got away with that without anything. Like we've had so many close encounters with so many like dangerous things, but like, and funny things at the same time when you look back on them. But I think that one of Jimmy having to sing All the Small Things probably tops it.
That's a very unique tale.
Like this image. I've just got this image in a van though, like it's just Jimmy singing it, no music.
It's all of us stood at the front. Yeah, just like all of us stood at the front of the van, like us looking at each other, Jimmy looking at the cops singing the song, and we're like, this is happening.
All the small things. It's like, I want to get like arrested or something.
So funny. But it was that was probably that was one of the funniest anyway, and safest to tell on the podcast.
I feel like police in like other countries are so much more intimidating than like UK. Like you go to like, I don't know, Spain or France or something like that. Like they just mean business, don't they? Like
Yeah,
compared
every
to like you look
country,
at UK police, it doesn't seem as intimidating.
The further east you get, the like less you should do naughty things, or like if you've got no money, the less you should steal, because you're probably gonna get in a lot of trouble. And like there's no real cap on what they can get away with over there, and like how much they can extort you for as well. Like there's horror stories of bands, and like Jimmy's old band Abolition in like 2009 went and did like a 36-day European tour with like no booking agent or anything, and they had some run-ins with the police over there, which were a bit of a nightmare, which I guess he can tell on another story, another podcast.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, as well, like you've got that fear of like, what if I end up in like this prison in like the middle of this country? How the fuck am I going to get out of it? How am I going to get out of this
Don't
situation?
speak English and already hate the English anyway.
Yeah, you just sat in that prison cell like, there's no way I can talk my way out of this.
Oh, absolutely not. Like Europe is scary, man.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of want to get into like obviously the album that you released during 2020, like 27 miles
27
underwater.
miles underwater, yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk us through how that release sort of got made, you know, how it differed from all the other releases that you put out?
So we got just like with that record, we got like given like an insane amount of time to record it. So if you think like when the demo was done, that was done in one day. The LP promos were done in a day. The 7-inch was done in a day. Soul Structure was done in 4 days in London, and we slept on a studio floor that was made of fucking concrete. And we had like sleeping bags, and it was brutal, but it was kind of like part and parcel of doing it. Like at that point when we were doing that, we were like, oh my God, we're in London and we're recording an album. Like I can't believe we get to do this. And like you kind of overlook the fact that you slept on the floor for 4 days, freezing your fucking tits off.
Yeah.
And then when we got to do 27, obviously we'd done the deal with Roadrunner at that point. They'd allocated us a budget to spend on recording, but like they basically pushed us to go with Gil because they were like, he'll suit your sound so much. Gil Norton was who we did, like he was the producer of the record, and then we had like the engineer was Clint Norton. Clint, I think, yeah, that was it. But we ended up doing like 2 weeks as like a trial run, pre-production sort of with them down in, I forget where the place was called. It was where they filmed, it was pretty much next to where they filmed Hot Fuzz.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So we were like proper out in the
Nice.
sticks. It was proper out in the sticks. But we did 2 weeks as to be like, it's an expensive mistake to make, to send a band to go and record for 6 weeks with an engineer or a producer or whatever they don't like. So we got like this 2 week trial run, and we're like, wow, like that was just, we got 2 weeks to play music and listen back to it and like record it in like the best sounding studio ever. And like our guitars and instruments and ourselves, like we just sounded way better. Just, and it got us quite comfortable around like their way of working, like Gil and Clint. And so we had like a bit of time off and went and did some tours and stuff. And then it was like, right, now we're going to do the recording. We had 6 weeks. And like, it's a long time to be together. So there was like, it got a bit like cabin feverish at points, but we had like a band apartment and stuff. And after the 2 weeks, when we did it the first time, me and Ethan didn't take our consoles with us. So when we went back for the 6 weeks, we'd taken like our PS4s down so we could play like UFC against each other or like go online on COD. But like the Wi-Fi connection was so bad, I swear it was like 6 megabytes or something. So it was like the ping was off the chart. So there's no point in playing because it was just like you need to be like peeking the corner for so long and you'd just be so delayed. It was like punishing to play it down there, but we just played UFC against each other, which was also punishing because Ethan just beat the shit out of me on that as well.
Yeah, I've got a mate that like always traps me with that shit. Where it's like, you want to play UFC, forgetting how good he is at it, and he absolutely batters the shit out of it.
Yeah, my like with Ethan, he's like, oh, I can't go against people online with my ground game. It's so hard. And then like me and him go against it, and I can do like stand up or like used to be able to do stand up on UFC a little bit, and then he just wrap me up and tangle me, and it'd be like, oh, of course you're gonna tap me out. I don't know what I'm fucking doing here. Like, it's such a hard game.
Oh yeah, definitely. As well, like on the subject of 27 miles, like you know what? It's mad that you sort of talk about how you spent 6 weeks, because like listening to the album, like it's so polished, like it's every single song flows from each other so well, and like
that was a big
I feel
thing
like
we spoke about. Go on,
yeah, like,
sorry.
it's just no, it's just like listening to it. It sounds like from all the other releases, you really stepped up your game on it as well. Like it just sounded so well done.
Yeah, I think we just like have room to like push ourselves like individually, but also as a band. Like we had like that time, and like Gil was very like good at pushing us and like encouraging us where like we needed it and stuff. Like because like I like the way I am in the studio and stuff. Like if I know I messed up, I'll stop playing rather than just like. And it was like it was a habit I got out of in there, but like. I would stop playing if I'd fuck up because I'd get angry at myself, and he'd be like, just play the take, just keep playing the take, play through the whole thing, because we'll get better and better and better as you go on and you go on and you go on. And like it just became way more comfortable where it would just be like, rather than me wanting to like do it piece by piece, we'd be ending up coming out with like big sections of guitar recorded. So it felt like organic, but also like it was like he'd given me a lot of patience and time to like make sure that it was spot on at the same time as well. Cause I just frustrate myself with that pursuit of being perfect as with Louis and stuff. Cause he's not in the band now, but like at the time, and especially at the time when we were recording, like he was a very, very big part of the writing process for the whole thing. And the way that he was like how anal he was about like rhythmic patterns and stuff with strumming and things like that. Like, I had to be proper on it myself. Like I knew that he'd be on at me, or like, you know, like if I wasn't hitting it right, like he wasn't going to like shy away from telling me I'd fucked up basically. So I was like really harsh on myself, but Gil was really good at making sure that I wasn't like too harsh, and like obviously was happy with me, like making sure that I got like the best out of myself.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think it's good to have like a producer like that, where they'll push you for the best take that you can do, and like they'll make sure that if you get in your head, they'll take you out of your head quickly.
100%. Like it was an absolute honor to work with him. Like it was, you only have to look at like the bands he's worked with, like, and obviously like Foo Fighters being one of them, and like that being like their first record and stuff, and like looking back and being like, I listened to that growing up so much as a kid with my mum in the car, and like now I'm working with this guy, and I was like, it's fucking stupid.
Seems so surreal, crazy. I imagine.
Yeah,
it's crazy how things work. Like how
he's
things
just a proper
like,
scouser. He's just a proper scouser. It's so mental, like just like a proper scouse bloke. So funny. He's like a dad as well. Surrogate father.
I think it's funny because like sometimes like before you meet someone, you obviously have like that built up like what they're like from just what you've heard of them, and then like this guy's just like a sound guy, like.
Yeah, like what you read about someone and like how you think, like we all probably had like a different perception of how Gil was going to be on like our first meeting with him. And the first time we met him was in Leeds, and we went to Belgrave. We got pizza slices and some drinks.
Got a Belgrave.
And, yeah, Belgrave's fucking sick, bro. But we met him there, and like how matter of fact he was, and like blunt and like blokey and just like down to earth he was. It was like, oh, this guy's like, he obviously knows what he's on about, but he's not fucking like full of himself and like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. Well, like, you know what I mean? Just like a bit poncy and just like, he's not gone posh. You know what I mean? He's like, because he's obviously like earned a lot and worth a lot, but like, he's like so down to earth. Like came to some of our shows and stuff, which is sick.
Good to know he's humble, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, you need that as well, like because like if you're working with someone that's like arsey as well and like sort of their own arse, like it's just gonna affect the entire process, because the entire time you're gonna be thinking, Jesus Christ, this dude. But like when someone's just straight with you and like nice about things, it's just like, oh, weight lifted.
He was definitely blunt where he needed to be, like, because he's obviously a producer and he knows what he's fucking on about. And so like there's points where we'd be stubborn about things. We'd be like, we're a fucking hardcore band, like we wrote this song to be weird, like we wanted the structure to be weird. And he's like, yeah, but like that's not gonna like necessarily be the best this song could be. Is like, that's not the way that you could, like, that's not the best way to utilize this chorus, or you know, like you might drag this bit on too much, whereas like that takes away the energy, even though it might be a fast part, you know, but having that for 6 parts or 8 bars or whatever, it's like that's maybe too long for that bit before it goes into the next bit. And so the dynamics, he was really like, he'd be like really on it with like tempos and stuff with us. And like initially we wanted to like be like, no, we're going to record this like how we want to record this. Like we're going to do it naturally. Like we all do it live in the room, like all a bit oblivious to it all, like very naive based on like our experience that we'd had before, just of like having a day to record a record. So you got to do it all in the same room in the same time.
Yeah.
And like having that like challenge of overcoming like doing like tempos and like figuring out the tempo map for every fucking song, which basically was us playing the songs live as many times as we could. And Gil would click along and he'd have like a little thing on his phone and he'd just do the tempo on his phone and he'd map it out. And he'd got this like weird shorthand like notepad with like all of his like just memory of takes and the way that he like organized stuff. And like he'd go through every song and he'd be like, you averaged 167 here, so let's say keep it that at 165, but the rest of it then you ramp up. And it was just like all this new jargon to us. Like Louis had done all of that because Louis just been like a computer guitar music nerd since he was like 11 or something. But like it was still a bit of like info and like method and technique for him to like overcome as well. Like it was definitely very, very different and it pushed us a lot. So that was where Gil was very like foot down and like we learned a lot ourselves from that. And it's definitely gone on to benefit us, even just demoing and stuff now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think like, and the way that he helps us write songs as well, like has helped us when we're coming to write this new stuff and how we've been writing this new stuff. It's helped us like already have like a better and stronger idea of how to structure a song. So like, obviously before we go into a producer next time, we're going to have more of a clue, and then hopefully we get to go in with a producer next time or someone as good as Gil again in the studio, because that was definitely a massive push.
Oh yeah, man. Definitely. I want to say like obviously with Higher Power, the guitar tone is like so iconic. I think like when you listen to Higher Power, you know it's you guys straight away. I get like influence of like, you know, hardcore, but then like grunge, then new metal. That might just be me because it seems like there's a lot of things thrown together. Like, how did you create the formula that's Higher Power?
Like initially when the band started, it just wanted to be the Marauder Eddie Leeway demo, which was like a demo that came out in between like 5 Deadly Venoms when Jorge didn't sing for Marauder and Eddie Leeway just did it. And it's like a really cool demo. And it's just like, it's recorded like shit, or like the versions that are out there are like, they don't sound that good, but like you hear what they were going for in there. And like, there's like that weird like dynamic of like the hard riffs from Sob and like all the metallic, like really, really crunchy guitars and stuff and like the sick fucking riffs. But then you've got Eddie Leeway just like wailing over it. And it's just like, it was just crazy. So that was like the starting point for what Higher Power wanted to sound like. And then obviously as you do that, you know, people sound like, oh, you sound like Snapcase, or you sound like Inside, like we had Inside Out at points, and you know, like all these other weird references. And then like the more we did, the more people like sounds like this and this and this, and like we were like, oh shit, like I guess like because that's what we listen to and what we've listened to for years, like I guess like Alice in Chains and Leeway a lot and all those things, it's like they all started to like come out more because it's like we can just explore like all of our favorite bands, how we interpret them, or like the parts that we enjoy from those bands we can do as a band ourselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool
like,
that no one can place you. Like when people can't place you, this means that you're just more unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and do you know what I think it is though? This is like a massive thing that I had to overcome with writing, and like the uniqueness and like coming up with like new things. And it's like, it's impossible and like never ever gonna happen. But the most important thing you can do is just be yourself and be like organic and real and authentic. Like you just like, that's I think the one thing that like Higher Power has is like you lose any member and it's like you lose Jimmy and it's not going to be the same Higher Power. You can't really change him. It's not like a hardcore band where you can be like, oh, dude's dropped out, so our homie stepped up. It's like, you know, Jimmy sounds like Jimmy and that's cool. And like I guess with the guitar tone, like Louis had like his SG with like humbucker pickups in, but he used to run it through like a 5150 that he'd like modded and stuff. And so that was like a a kind of rocky guitar, but with like a metal head. And then I had like my Charvel and I've got my Jacksons and stuff. And like, I run that with my Marshall 800. And so it's like metal guitars, but with like rocky head. And like, I think that's always been something that complemented one another, was like the contrast in that in its own. And then like the way we blended that and stuff was like something that helps us like with tone and stuff. And we used to absolutely throttle the fuck out of chorus. We used to use so much chorus on everything that when we came to working with Gil, we laid back on that a little bit and became a little bit more tasteful with what we used, and started to experiment with other sounds as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I feel like guitar tone's like something like a lot of bands kind of neglect like in their early days as well. Whereas like I feel like you guys kind of got it straight away. And like you've seen it build up, but then like it felt like the ingredients were already there.
Well, like we'd all done like a million bands together. So this was Jimmy and Alex. They're both the brothers. This was their first ever band together. But like Alex and Louis had done a bunch of other bands and writing. Like they wrote loads of straight edge bands together that never surfaced. And then Blind Authority they played in together. Like Jimmy and me played in Fade. And like me and Ethan played in a bunch of metal bands before, like Anguish and Blood Eagle, Urban Spirit, a couple of old throwback bands right there. And like we'd all been in fucking so many bands before this. Like it wasn't even meant to be a band. It was meant to be like a couple of shows and like a demo and maybe a 7-inch, and it just like kind of like really fucking blossomed and took off, which was sick. But like I think like when it came to the tone and stuff, we just kind of like fell lucky a little bit. We just ripped off the right people at the right time, I think.
No, well, you guys got a nice sound, to be fair.
Yeah, and then like obviously it progressed, and we learned more. We were like, whoa, how can we like make ourselves sound better and better and better? Because it's like as soon as you do something good, it's like you can't be complacent with that. Do you know what I mean? So it's like having to jump on the pedal board 20 times in a song is annoying, but it's worth it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And I feel like a lot of people do get complacent. Like they'll go, hey, you know what? People like this, we'll stick with this, and like they'll just stick. But you guys have just shown an organic, just how can we get better from here? And that's what I really like about you guys, because it's like you release something and then it's like you sit on it and then go, right, how can we get better from here? How can we make people go, this is way more different. This has a bunch of other stuff in it. Like it's really interesting, like how you guys just constantly progress.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that like has to happen. I think like we never really had a roof over what we could achieve as a band sound wise. Like sonically, I think we got quite lucky in that like Chibi with his singing opened so many avenues for interpretation, like we said earlier, for like what people feel there's an influence from. And some of those things we might not have directly been influenced by, like could have been subconsciously or whatever, or it could have been something that someone's gone on to say, and then we've been like, shit, let's listen to it. And we've been like, oh yeah, I get that. That's cool as fuck. Like as if we sound like that band or whatever, like Far Side or something. Like that was a crazy reference to get, like that early Rev Records sort of era of like those really weird bands. A lot of people kind of said we sounded like some of those, so that was kind of cool. But I'd never really explored that much until people started saying it, and I was like, well, I'll check this out. I'll check this band out, and I was like, oh, I get it.
Has someone like compared it to like a really absurd band? You're like, what the fuck? No.
I'm trying to think, man. Like nothing absurd and nothing offensive. Just we used to get Turnstile a lot around the demo time, and I think it was just like the like groovy riffs and chorus guitar, and like
you've got compliment there.
Not at all, bro. I love those guys so much, and like they've always been great. Like one of the most fucking insane bands ever, and like Glow On is the best record of probably our generation. It's not like a metal record. It's not a hardcore record. It's not a punk record. It's a fucking people record, man. That's like, it's just so fucking good.
Never get bored.
But yeah, like we used to get that reference a lot, and I was just like, that's just either lazy journalism or like people have only listened to Turnstile, and so that's why they're drawing that reference, which is fine because like again, like I guess maybe subconsciously at that time we were like, this band is sick. Let's do some cool riffs like that. Do you know what I mean? But again, it was never meant to be what it is, and what it is now is just insane. So yeah, very grateful.
For me,
very grateful.
I've always sort of got like a Faith No More vibe from you. Like, I don't know why I draw that conclusion, but I always got that
Because
sort of
Ethan's
vibe.
a mosher. Because Ethan's a real groovo. Bro,
I
you know
always
what?
got that.
I'll listen to some Faith No More and I'll try and rip them off in a song and you can point it out on the next podcast. When the next album's out, we can review it.
Yeah, spot.
Nice, I'll be up for that. But yeah, no, I always got a Faith No More, like sort of like vibe from you, especially with 27 miles under. I always got like that sort of like, I don't know what it was. It's just
That's maybe the
sounded a
most
lot.
absurd like
There we go. I've
review
answered on question.
There we go. Yeah.
No,
go.
it's just like a weird conclusion that I sort of drew because I've listened to a couple of Faith No More records and I was like,
It's not a bad reference really at all. Like I'll have to check because that's again, it's one of those bands that like, you know, like I'm 31 now, so like a lot of the music that I got into was through Tony Hawk's and was through Kerrang and Scuzz and P-Rock and like MTV too, when that used to like have like Headbangers Ball and stuff like that. So
what was it like being featured
more...
yourself in Kerrang?
Kerrang was like, so we like got like a few reviews and stuff like that, but like the actual feature where we got the cover, man, I wish it was like when they still did the actual magazine, because that would have been like the ultimate gift to give to my mum. Like, here you go, Tracy.
It's your boy.
Not just like, mum, look, like get the magnifying glass out. Look, it says Higher Power on this little like flyer in Kerrang magazine. There we go. No, it was sick, man. Like, and getting to do the photo shoot, like, it was funny because like we were on tour with Static Dress and Esme. We met up with Esme, who does like Kerrang's like digital stuff and like the marketing side of things. She's cool as fuck. And she was like, oh yeah, we're doing like, obviously sort of like this has all happened now, but she was like at the time, she's like, yeah, be quiet, but we got like Static Dress's shoot coming out before yours, and then the week after theirs is yours coming out. She's like, we're gonna do something with Dogs with them, and we're like, whoa, wait up a second, you're gonna do what with who? And she's like, oh, we're gonna do something like with Dogs with Static Dress. And we were like, look, we love Static Dress to bits, they're our mates, but they don't have dogs. We've literally got Harley on our record center label. Like, we're doing Dogs. And she was like, all right, let me speak to them. And she spoke to them at whatever show it was, probably London. She was like, okay, you guys are doing Dogs. And we were like, sick, let's go. So that
why Dogs?
Because we all have dogs and we all love dogs, and no one's ever done a photo shoot for Kerrang with dogs on the cover that's actually their own dogs, I don't think. So we're like, what's the most real representation of Higher Power at this moment? And it was like, well, all we do, because it was kind of semi-pandemic-ish days, post-pandemic, but everything weird, we're like, we walk our dogs, we hang out with our friends with our dogs, we try and write music and leave our dogs with our friends when we're writing music. We literally have just become dog parents throughout the whole pandemic. And like Ethan is kind of Alex, our drummer, and Ethan, our bassist. When Alex and Rory are busy, they'll leave the dogs with Ethan and Nat. And when Jimmy's busy, they'll leave the dogs with Ethan and Nat. When I'm busy, I'll leave the dogs with Ethan and Nat sometimes. So we all just look after each other's dogs. And we were just like, yeah, let's fucking do a photo shoot with our dogs.
It's wholesome, man.
It was sick. Yeah, I loved it. That was like cool, just doing that. Just seeing little Rex's face on the cover. I was like, that's so silly.
Oh,
good
mate,
boys
Rex
of
reminds
hard
me
metal and
of my
hardcore.
old dog.
What's that?
Yeah, Rex reminds me of my old dog because he's a staffy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a staffy
I had
pit, bro. He's gorgeous.
Yeah, I had like I had a little staffy growing up. Like, he was my
nice,
first dog.
bro. Dude, that's
Barney.
They're the cutest dogs, the most loyal dogs ever.
Mate, they've got such a like bad rep, but they're such amazing dogs because they're so loyal, they're so cuddly, they're so happy.
In it, I was left my door open, hoping Rex would try and like dash in and like get on the bed, but he's being lazy downstairs. But we did a lot of walking.
Down for a guest appearance.
In it, I'll try and get him up here. I haven't got any biscuits to shake for him, but that would normally get him up here.
We'll feature him in the credits, story.
That's it. Yeah, I'll get him in it. I'll just get him in it. I'll just be me and Rex like this, just waving like this.
Yeah, thumbnail, man.
There we go. Or we're like, just edit a photo of him in here like this, and then just like get him in.
Yeah, no, honestly, I really loved that cover because like it was also like really insane, like seeing like a band from my town, like, you know, like being on the cover. Like, these boys are from fucking Leeds. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy,
bro. Great.
It is sick. It was very sick, and it was very like like Kerrang are just cool as fuck. Like everyone's been cool as fuck. Like people can be like, oh, it's selling out or it's corporate or whatever. It's like it's not. It's just like I read Kerrang growing up. Like why the fuck am I going to shit on it now? Like I got into music through reading Kerrang, and like if fucking some kid gets into us through reading Kerrang or seeing that cover, then that's fucking sick. Because that's what I did as a kid. It's what we all did.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, like first thing I used to do is go to my local corner shop.
Yeah,
find the first copy of Kerrang I could see, flick through it and be like, how many bands are it? Then go to HMV and buy all the CDs.
Dude,
that's what I'd do.
It used to kill me when I was a kid because I'd like look in like the gig section, and where I grew up as a kid, like because I'm not from Leeds, and before I lived in Leeds, I lived in Stoke for like 5 years. But before that, I grew up in this like shitty mining village. No offense to anyone from Shirebrook, but it's a shithole. And I was very lucky to get moved away from there when I was 15. It's a fucking crazy little place. But I used to look in the gig section and I'd be like, oh my God, like fucking this band's playing at Rock City. This band's playing at Rock City. This band's playing at like Nottingham Arena. And like, I remember the first big gig I went to was in 2002. And it was System of a Down supported by Dillinger Escape Plan. And seeing Dillinger Escape Plan as an 11-year-old, I was like, what?
It's been crazy.
The fuck is this? But I was like, I loved it. I just remember like being in seating area, just like being like, what the fuck? Like headbanging, just being like, this is crazy. But then like in between every song, they would get booed because obviously it was new metal moshers that wanted to see System of a Down in 2002, which was the peak of like Toxicity. And yeah, like that was like the first big gig I went to, but I'd see so many shows that I'd want to go to. I remember getting like fortunate. My friend went to see like Sum 41 with like Real Big Fish. And like, I got to go and see like a few shows, but there's so many I'd look at through Kerrang being like, I want to go here. I want to go here. I want to go here. And it would be so sick to see them, but never be able to go to the show. I'd be always a bit sad.
This is what I mean. Like, I don't get when people are like, oh, this band sold out. They're on like, you know, the Kerrang cover and stuff. It's like everyone's got a humble beginning. Like nobody starts out listening to some slam cassette that they found. You know what I mean? It's always like people reading Kerrang, like, watching Skurs, like playing Tony Hawk or playing Guitar Hero.
I'll be like
that's
straight up. I'll be straight up. Like all the punk music and everything that gets you into alternative stuff is like Tony Hawk and stuff. But like people want a cool guy when they're like in hardcore, and it's like, what's the fucking point? Just like if somebody gets into something, like just enjoy it. Like don't call or flex on them because you were into it 6 months earlier. Like I remember when I got into Marauder, everyone would be like, oh, Master Killer was the record that got me into Marauder. Or like, you know, like the Sob demo, and people, I'm like, cool. Like I probably like heard Sob demo, like not Sob demo, the Minus demo, like after everything else. But the first Marauder record that I was genuinely into was Brutality. And that was just because I remember going on to like Mediafire and going on blog spots and just downloading literally whatever the fuck I could. And just like, that would have just been on a like Toxic Funhouse or whatever the fuck it was called, like back in the day, like Blogspot. And that was the first like Marauder record I got into. And it's not great listening back compared to their other records, but like, it's like, yeah, no one starts out cool. Do you know what I mean? You always start somewhere. And I think like, you know, that like selling out thing that people can kind of be like, it's like, it's not selling out if you're just like pushing yourself further and further and further. Like I never ever feel like you should shit on someone or like bands or anyone for like trying to do what they want to do. If it's organic, again, going back to authentic and stuff like that.
Everyone wants to succeed. Like you should never
see through bullshit,
downplay
you know
someone.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You can see through bullshit, and you can see through when like, you know, there are bands that are like sound a certain way now that they didn't sound a certain way before. And it's like, well, you just either going with the motion or you just don't know what you want to sound like. You don't know who you are. And therefore there's no identity to what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? That's not to say bands can't change their sound, but you can hear when a band changes their sound because they're clutching at straws, basically.
Yeah. And like, it's one of those things, it's like being, you should be proud that someone that's come from like the scene that you're so passionate about has gotten to that level where they can be on Kerrang and they can still promote the local scene and they can still help.
100%.
It's like,
I got my flex shirt on right now, bro. Do you know what I mean? I'm
exactly,
always like,
yeah, it's like one of those things. Like you should be like, shit. These guys are from like, you're doing shows in my town. Like they've built like a, you know, like an audience in my town, and they're on this fucking massive magazine. Like shit, what's this gonna do for like the music I love here now?
Well, like coming from where I come from and then living in Stoke, like it was impossible to ever get in a band. So I like played music for fucking years on my own. It was so hard to ever get in bands. I had one grindcore band from the year 2008 to like 2009, like in Stoke for a little bit. And it was just really weird, but it was fun. And it was like the only thing I could really get my hands on to do at the time. But like, you know, coming from where I'm from and then being in Leeds and playing music in Leeds and people being into it and like Higher Power being a Leeds band, like none of us are from Leeds, but we fucking love that Leeds loves Higher Power and Higher Power fucking loves Leeds because we are a Leeds hardcore band. Do you know what I mean? Like, but to be from where I'm from, like I'm just fucking stoked to be accepted into like a different city doing something that I love. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I feel like Leeds is such a good town for it, like because it's like the. I think a lot of people underestimate how much of a melting pot like Leeds is for music now. Like in the early days, it probably wasn't, but
I think all creativity. I think well, like from even like the hardcore standpoint, like Leeds had a very big, like straight edge hardcore scene in like the like later end of the 90s and stuff. Like a lot of my friends that I have now and stuff like Sheep can attest for like shows in Leeds being good back in the day. But I think certainly hardcore in the UK for a while was like there was really good bands here and there, but there was never any real consistency in anywhere for like a long period of time. Like London's always had like Ruction and LDU stuff popping off, but like I think like Leeds 2011 to 2016 was like crazy for bands and music and just shows in general. Like and since then, like Leeds is just always, I felt like you said town earlier for Leeds, and it is like a town. It's a city, but everything is so close and everyone kind of knows everyone's business like a town.
Oh yeah.
And it's fucking sick because there is just like this massive like hub of creativity within Leeds. And that's like whether it's music and it crosses over into art and stuff like that. But there is so much. And I think like being accepted and being a part of that is something that you should cherish and be very, very grateful for, whoever you are. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think like the scene then in like, you know, Yorkshire and Leeds, like, you know, for the metal and hardcore community, do you reckon it's thriving now then, like from the sort of reception you've seen?
I think the pandemic fucking like blew a lot of fucking wind out of the sails for everyone in terms of like, obviously there was no shows. So it's like a little harder for people to be a little more creative and stuff. But in the same swoop, like a lot of people wrote a lot of bands and there's a lot of cool shit that came out. Like I know Pest Control were around before the pandemic, but like they've really fucking flourished through the pandemic. And then there's like Mortuary Spawn and like fucking Fate have come out since the pandemic. I did Sod's Law, which is on the back burner, but it is like there's so much that's come out. Like Slick and a couple of the punks, they've got new bands like Tramadol. And then I'm trying to think, what the fuck is Chris's band? Helios, which is Crispy. He got a new band that he's doing. It's like I think it's like a doomy rocky sort of thing, right?
Yeah, we know two of the members.
My mate James is the drummer. You know,
nice. Is he out the big with the big beard?
No, that's Kieran. He's Kieran. The one with the long hair.
Yeah.
Literally proper into his death metal. Like
that's sick.
Speaking to him though, it's great because it's like it's exactly what he needed right now. Because like I've known James for like almost 3 years now. And like he played in like Total War for years since he was in like high school, and like he kind of like it's not like he fell out of music. He just didn't have time for it, and now that he's actually found like a band that everyone really wants to drive it
like
forward.
A passion project that like people are all on board with. Like that's
the thing. Every single one of them wants to push it forward, and like,
the
just
fact
talking to him, you can feel it off of him, like how happy he is to be in it.
The fact they've got Chris in that band is like so sick as well, because Chris is like one incredible bassist, like unreal. Played in Blood Eagle for a little bit with us, and two is just like so fucking driven, dude. Like he puts in the miles on his bike, and like obviously that translates into music and the bands and everything that he does. Like he's such a passionate and like hardworking bloke. So I'm very excited to see what they do and listen to what they do. And their photos are also very spooky. So it's already a great start.
Always a good sign.
Great start.
I remember messaging James about that. They're like, "Oh yeah, you want keep an eye on the page because of like the the photos are dropping soon. He was like, oh, they were done on film, and because I
Yeah,
collect like film cameras and shit. So
Sick.
like you were there, like I know you like that. I was like, yeah.
Our
nice.
friend Malene shot them. Like our friend Malene, she shot the photos. She's sick. She's like from Florida and Armenia, and she's like so sick at photography. So like the fact they got her photos done by her was cool as fuck.
Yeah, it was proper striking.
yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah,
I mean, even
and
like,
obviously it's great, like because it's shot down at Kirkstall as well. So that's like
iconic.
real metal.
Yeah, I was joking with James because like I remember when I was in like when I was in like a little tiny band that's not really going on anymore.
Well, you got to name drop yourself now that you've mentioned it. You've got to name drop it.
Rain Eyes. It was a shit. I don't like the name. We released like one track and then just kind of disappeared because like we just took a break and then that break turned into 6 months later.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like formally not broken up. Let's say still together on hiatus.
Yeah,
you're on hiatus. You're on a hiatus. Yeah, you're on hiatus. Dude, you know what? That leaves it open for you for it coming back. That leaves it open for it coming back.
Yeah, it could do. But yeah, like our first ever photo shoot was with Brad in the middle of Kirk's
Sick.
I shot him down there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, because I do like to do like photography and music videos and stuff. So like when I was just trying to get my portfolio up, I shot some stuff down there. But Kirk's Lobby is always a good like scene.
Yeah,
any metal or hardcore band, it's just the place to be.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm very sad because the actual mecca of Leeds hardcore photography for so long was, you guys know where Cardigan Road is, right?
Oh yeah.
You know where the petrol station is? You know where the chip shop is, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Across from that petrol station is all of those flat blocks, that massive new luxury student accommodation that previously was just like abandoned land. And like there was so many times that we like did photo shoots on there. So like all of the original Higher Power photos for promo were done by Nat Wood, and they were all shot around there. There was some for the Flex 7-inch that was shot with like Andy Jones took the photos, or I can't remember if can't remember exactly how he did it, but like somebody took the photos for the Flex down there. And then like they built all these shitty fucking apartments on top of this like mecca of like Leeds hardcore photography that's just like now has its time and place, has its like, it exists as and when it was around basically. But they turned it into shit student apartments, as they do with everything.
They need to turn Kirkstall Abbey into the mecca, because it's like, honestly, Kirkstall Abbey is such a scenic place to take a nice little band shot.
Yeah, I with that, and like I think as well, but you can't do it too much though, because then it becomes cliche, doesn't it? It doesn't become unique enough.
Yeah, I think it's very true. That way, to be honest.
I avoided doing that photo shoot on purpose when we did Soslo, because I was like, fuck, like every metal band takes their photo with their fucking most like cool guy shirt on, and like they do it in like a really spooky location. And I was like, the spookiest I'll go is like wood shots. And I was like, woods can be cool because you can make it black and white and it looks cool as fuck. But I was like, I don't want to wear like a fucking Death t-shirt or a fucking like any like my Dayside shirt or any like cool guy like metal shirt. And I was like, what do I do? And I like just put on like a plain white shirt. And then I like look back on the photos now and I'm like, bro, it looks like you're doing like an ASOS photo shoot. Like, what the fuck? Backfired. I should have gone down Kirkstall Abbey.
Merch club.
Should have trusted my instincts.
So like as well, like obviously you guys released from Fall from Grace this year, which is an incredible fucking track.
Back end of last year.
Sorry, this it all blurred into kind of
it does. The pandemic's been 1 year.
But yeah,
the whole pandemic.
That's just 2021 and 2020. That's just 1 year. Well,
2020 did that even exist? I don't think
we even put
an album out.
It just...
Feels like a blur.
Did we even put an album out?
But obviously, along that, you released a fucking like really good music video. I've got to say.
Yeah.
What can you sort of take us through like the creative process behind it? Because I found like it very unique to you guys. Like I haven't really seen many music videos done the way it was.
The thing that was sick with Fall from Grace, and this is like again like authenticity and being real and like sticking to your fucking guns and like trusting the process. We were like, where the fuck do we shoot a fucking music video? It looks way more organized and better than it was. Like, it was like, that's no discredit to like anyone shooting it. It was just like, we had like a rough idea of what we wanted to shoot, but we were like, where are we going to do this? And then we were like, fuck it, let's speak to Atco, who we recorded the song with. And then we sent it off to a producer, and they like worked their magic with it. But like, we're like, let's just go to Atco and see if we can use the living room area of like the recording studio and see if that's cool. Cause it's got all this weird it's got like all these weird like knickknacks and like trinkets and things all over, and like throws and rugs and weird furniture that none of it fits together, but it's like the coolest room you'll ever go in.
Yeah.
And we were like, let's fucking just like see if we can shoot it there. And we did it there. And then like Jimmy had a friend who had like, she lives in an apartment, and they did the tunnel, like not the tunnel shots, but the hallway shots down there. And then there's like this living room shot that we ended up doing, which is basically just us doing what we would do, which would be like gaming and chilling and watching shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it had this weird, obviously I'll get into the video a little more after, but like they were doing it at like some Airbnb, but like the majority of the video was done with like places and people that we knew and were familiar with. So like it was already kind of like we were comfortable in where we were. But the idea for it is like, Jimmy speaks about the song in the Kerrang article, so I guess it'd be easier to go and read that than to me try and tell you the song meaning without fucking it up. But basically it's just like the overview of what I got when I was asking Jimmy about it is he's just like, it was basically just about like relationships and the idea around like when people break up, like you can't go here, you can't go there, you can't do this, and like all this control around autonomy and stuff like that. It's basically just about it's just basically a song about that, like basically being like fuck what anybody else thinks, like do what you want to fucking do basically when it comes to like love and feelings and shit, which is kind of deep for Jimmy, not gonna lie. And so like the video, that's why it's like this weird like us playing to people but them not really seeing us and looking at the TV, and it's like this weird like it's just looking at like being separated and pulled and like in a position of like told what to do or how to be or how to act and stuff. And it's just like it was like a really cool idea. Like it took us all a minute to get around it because Jimmy was like, yeah, there's gonna be chicks making out in it and there's gonna be this and this, and we were like, what the fuck are you on about, like chicks making out in the video? And he's like, yeah, it's dreamy and there's gonna be loads of smoke and all this stuff. And we were just like, what are you like, what's like, where, like what, just like really confused. And then like we shot the video with Kiefer Passy and like his team, like he had a sick team with him. He shot a bunch of like videos for like a bunch of other bands and like ads and stuff. Like he's a really, really cool guy, but he like managed to take Jimmy's insanity and turn it into a cool video at the end of the day. And like the coloring that he did on the video as well, like is mental. Like the way that like he was sick with lighting, like the lighting, I didn't realize how impactful that was until we shot this video. Like we've done a lot with lighting before and we get like, obviously you need lights, but the way that he like used colors and like the way that he would blend colors off of one another, and then the way that they then edit it post recording, it was like mental process. Like it was really cool to see like it step by step, because we'd obviously get a little bit of like drip fed a little bit of like, this is the idea of where we're going so far with the video and what we've got, this is where we're going, like now it's a bit closer, and we get a bit closer every time and we get a new bit. And then we've got the colorized version, like the like recolored version or whatever, I can't remember what the professional term is for it, but like it just looks fucking mental. And yeah, it was a really cool video to do, really cool video.
Oh yeah, it comes across as well, like watching it, you can tell like you guys had fun doing it as well. Like
yeah, definitely.
It looks like it's so well done as well. Like it is really well done.
Yeah, 100%. We've been very fortunate with our music videos. We've been very fortunate with like the people we got to shoot music videos with, like throughout all of Higher Power. Like even going back to when we did Can't Relate, we got to work with Molly, who is the sister of Chubby from Chubby and the Gang. And she shoots like she shoots like actual films and movies and short movies and stuff. And like her career from like, she was already massive when she did like our video, but she did it as a massive favor to us. because it was when we got with Flat Spot and with Ven, so it was like kind of a big deal for us because it was like, oh, US label and a UK label. Like we knew Ricky already and Shay already from like Ricky's been in Backtrack, and like Shay's just like obviously the godfather of Baltimore, so we just knew them from like our time meeting people and touring and stuff. But yeah, like we just got like a massive like helping hand with all of it and shit. It was sick.
Yeah, it's very inspiring, to be honest. Like someone who does music videos as well, like just watching it and just seeing like people's creative process and like, you know, the collaboration between like the band and the videographer and the editor, just like it's just really cool to see. And I just like seeing people's vision and just like how it translates to the song and the contrast. It's just sick.
Relationships make a massive difference in like shooting, and you got to do like fucking 12 hours, 14 hours like shooting, and you don't get on with somebody, or like you've got 2 days of shooting and it's like by day 2 you're like, I don't like this person. Not that we've ever been in that situation, but with the frustration and the confusion and the fact that no matter what shot it is, it's the best and most important shot, or like it's the most crucial moment, like this needs to be got, like everything is so high stress and like tense, no matter whether you get on with people. To not get on with someone and do that would suck for that long. Do you know what I mean? It would suck. I remember when we did Seamless and Low Season, technically they were shot over 2 days, but we reshot a lot of stuff for Seamless in New York because some of the underwater shots we weren't happy with and just didn't work. But we shot those over 2 days, and like they were sick shoots, but they were fucking brutal. Like watching Jimmy be in the water for like 8 hours, and he's got like a wetsuit on underneath his like normal clothes, but then he was in there for like 7 hours, maybe even more. To them just dunking him up and down, dunking him up and down.
It's like some torture.
And I was like, in it, I was like, fuck, I felt like doing that to him at times, but this is kind of sad watching it. I wanted to do this, but I'd never do it now. It was so sad.
Were you just in the background going, do you want a break, Jim? Like,
bro,
it's okay to have a break.
In it. The thing that's so annoying is like organization again. If we'd have done Low Season first, where it's like all of us laying over each other like a Renaissance painting, like wriggling and shit, Jimmy would then not have had a cold to shoot that, because we did Seamless first. Jimmy was in the water. The next day we did Low Season. Jimmy had such a bad cold. I remember he was just like shivering and like on the way to getting very sick because it was just like harrowing. Like I remember towards like, there's some shots in it where you'll see us like in the water playing, and I was like maybe ball sack height. So I think I purposely didn't go any lower because I was like, this is too cold now. This is too much. But I remember being in there like that deep for about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours shooting those scenes. And like, that was just so annoying. It was so frustrating. Never mind 7 hours getting dunked up and down underneath it. And Jimmy hates water. Jimmy hates water. Jimmy hates swimming.
Oh, that must be terrible for him.
Yeah.
Oh, because I'm not like the best with water, so I can't imagine being like in there for 8 hours.
But the funny thing is Louis just decided that he would go swimming in just his boxers, just for a laugh. He's like, oh, this looks cool, this looks nice, let's go for a swim. And I was like, what the fuck? But the place where we shot that was where they do the car stunt scenes for like Coronation, like Emmerdale, I think it is. And there's like when there's like the car going off a cliff and down a cliff and into water, that's where they did it. So they were like pointing it out and like walked us around it when we like got there in the early point of the day and like showing us around. And they're like, there's probably a car in there somewhere if you were to jump in. And we were like, probably best not then, innit? But yeah, like while Jimmy's like in there shivering and getting dunked, Louis just like doggy paddling, like broad stroking himself away and back in and backstroking and whatnot, having the whale of a time. So
Jimmy's just looking there like, bastard.
Ain't it? It's like, what are you fucking doing? This is mental.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to get into like your Twitch streaming then. So like, how did that all start? What made you want to do it? And you know, would you see that as something that you do as like a side hustle in the future?
Like, I did it because through the pandemic, Activision and Treyarch and fucking Sledgehammer and whichever fucking company, but mainly Activision, have to be grateful for their fucking timing of releasing Warzone, because that came out March 10th and the pandemic struck the world pretty much like lockdown.
Yeah.
Maybe around March 20th, pretty much like around the world. And like, I just remember playing that so much, and like, obviously was never great at it because I'd never have consistent play time. I'd just play the game very, very casually before. And then play that a lot with my friends, play that a lot with like people that I've made friends with in America, make more friends from America, and like see that they stream, and I'm like, oh wait, I can do this. And then my friend Antoine, like he used to just like stream for our friend Joe when he would be at work. So he didn't do it with a camera or anything. He would just put the stream on, and it would be PS4 to Twitch. So I started doing it like that for banter, because I was like, oh yeah, I can just show Joe what I'm up to. I can just do some 1v1s and like do that for a bit. Or I used to love solos on Verdansk. Like that was my fucking shit, bro. Like I used to love sweating, like greasy hands. Like by the end of it, like, you know, I used to fucking really, really, really love that. And like, so I used to stream that for a bit. And then through just doing that, like naturally got a few followers, and then like looked at like the achievements section on Twitch, and I was like, fuck, like I'm kind of close to like, if I get my average viewers up and get a few more followers and like get more days in streaming, I can like maybe get like affiliate and like make a little bit of money potentially just for a bit of a laugh. And I was like, that's sick. And like did that, and then figured out, like spent weeks in the pandemic figuring out how to stream from PS4 with a fucking capture card through this shitty PC that I used to have. And took ages figuring out OBS, and like slowly got it. And I was like, then got affiliate. And I remember like I got affiliate not long after getting like the 100th win on Verdansk with like Niall, who used to play in Broken Teeth and Urban Spirit, and Ethan, obviously Higher Power, and Joe, who plays Big Cheese and Fate and has been filling in for Higher Power. But we got the 100th dub, and then it wasn't long after that, I remember getting like maybe like 8 or 9 viewers at that point and being like, oh my god, boys. And like we got the 100th, and it was fucking sick. But it was like such a sick feeling, and like it was like proper entertaining. It's like just people that I'd made friends with through touring and like music, and friends in America and friends of theirs and like friends of mine over here and stuff. And I was like, this is just fun to do, but it's very fucking difficult. Like there's a lot of people that do it, and they're very deluded as to the turnaround time, as to how to get it. Some people get fucking crazy lucky with it. And for me, like to do that, I would have to not have a dog, like, and literally just sit and play and clip, harvest, and just like do that like all the time. And that would be just to do that for gaming stuff. But like I did like a music stream, and that was probably the most insane stream I've ever done. But I want to do more music streaming, but would love to do it as a hustle. But it just grew from gaming and like just doing the thing that I love doing. And I was like, wait a second, like it's not even, I don't even have to look at it as like streaming as such, because I'm gonna fucking do this shit anyway. I'm gonna play games with my fucking friends, which through the pandemic again was a godsend. Like I used to beat myself up and be like, shit, you've got like 40 real days in Call of Duty, and like that's like real life time that you've not spent outside doing real things or like going to the gym or whatever. And I was like, fuck. But then I was like, wait, it's been a pandemic, and throughout all of that time I've pretty much spent talking to my friends. And I was like, so it's sick. And I was like, so I'm gonna do a bit of streaming, and like just did it for fun. But I was like, I'm gonna play games anyway, no matter what. And if people want to stop by, they can. And then now, like when I go on, like it might not be like crazy busy numbers, but you know, it's peaks and troughs, but there's like consistent viewers there that like stop by, which is sick. And like people that are into Higher Power, which I was like surprised at, like, but they're just also really into gaming and also like talking shit. So it's good fun.
Good mixture. Yeah.
Yeah. And like also I have a webcam for Rex as well. So when he's in my room, when he gets in his bed, I can put the webcam on for him, which is also good. Little bonus.
That's kind of like how this sort of happened, like the podcast, because like we like started it like just like a year before, but weren't really proactive with it. And like pandemic happened, and like we always wanted to talk to bands, and we were there like, well, everyone's in now, let's just try. And then from thinking let's just try, we end up like, sort of building this and not getting to speak to people that we've been fans of for years, and like really
It's the
like,
attitude for everything, isn't it? Though, like you have to like, if you want to do something, just fucking do it. Like, just don't worry about like anything. Like, oh, it's like copying, or it's like this person's already done it. This people do it better. It's like you do it for you, and be yourself and be authentic, and people will stop by and be into it and like want to engage and want to do things with you, or stop by and watch things and stuff, because it's like they like you for who you are and what you do on the podcast, and like what, or whatever it is you do, like what you do in your band or your art and stuff. Like, because so many people stop themselves from doing things because of like the comparison of others, or seeing people that do things and they're close to them. It's like, well, I don't want to be called a copycat, or like I don't want people to think that I'm not like original. It's like, just do something if you want to do it. If you want to do something, fucking do it. Like, that's it, really, isn't it? Like, and if people like it, people will like it, and if they don't like it but you do, keep fucking doing it anyway, and eventually people will like it.
Oh yeah, it's crazy you say that, because like one of our friends were like saying, like, me and Brad both have always had like sort of the attitude of fuck it, just do it.
Yeah,
like it's not, we don't really, we're not like, I know Brad kind of plans out a lot, but I'm more very impulsive when they're like, I don't really think about it. I'll just go, let's just fucking do it.
yeah. That's it though. You need to have it, like, you need to be able to like have that like natural, like organic way of doing things. But I think it is good to also have that like organization when it comes to things, like when, especially it's good to have like a mix for podcasts, do you know what I mean? And especially in anything, do you know what I mean? Like, if you've got 4 busybodies that are all super like organized freaks trying to do a band, there's going to be a lot of conflict. But if you've got 4 people that have very, or 5 people or whatever that have, or 2 people for a podcast that have areas that they're stronger in, let them shine. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't feel bad for.
Yeah, I'm the crazy organized one.
That's the good shit. That's the good shit.
Well, I'm the impulsive one that's like, let's just fucking do it, because I'm mad impatient. Like, if I think of something, I need to do it there and then. Otherwise, I just kind of forget. And they're like, oh, I should have done that. But if something pops in my mind, I need to just do it there.
Dude, I make so many lists. I make so many lists all the time. I'm a lists kind of guy, or else I forget.
Like the guitarist, my mate Jordan, like we've been working on demos for like the last couple like months or so, because like I drive him mental, because it'd be like 12 o'clock at night and I'll send him like a voice note of like a riff idea that I had.
Nice.
He's there like, mate, it's 12 o'clock at night, just go to bed. I'm like, no, because if I don't get this out of my head now, I'll wake up, forget it, right? And then it won't be down, and I know this is a good riff. He's there like, dude, just fucking stop sending me shit.
Dude, I love that, because there's so many times like when we've been on tour, or like in just like a moment, just like playing guitar or on stage sound checking, that someone, or just like me or Louis or Jimmy or whoever at the time, will be just like tinker about, like Ethan as well, like he'll just be like playing as you do, you sound checking, you're setting up, and then there's like so many phone recordings on my phone of just like takes of songs that have then gone into songs, or have been riffs in songs that haven't come out yet or whatever, like from just like the moment. Like, you have to capture it in the moment sometimes, or else it's gone. Do you know what I mean? And like, there's one that I've got a recording of Jimmy's, it's called like Jimmy Riff Guitar Center, and like you listen back to it and it's like almost inaudible because it's Guitar Center, so there's like 800 guitars playing in it. But no, I get that though. I get that, like taking the voice note or taking like a recording of a riff just so that it's like down. You got to do that.
Oh yeah, like when we actually used to do like practice, like if Jordan would be like fucking about, I'll just like start like recording it, just because I know for a fact like sometimes he just comes out with gold, and like don't really even realize it. So I'll just record it, and like now that we've been doing demos, it'll be like, I don't know what to put for like this one section, and I'm like, oh, I'll put up a recording that I've had since like 2019, since like 2018, since we're like first in bands. But what about this? And he'd be like, where the fuck did you have that? I'm like, it's been on my phone for like 3 years, mate.
Love that. Love that. We've had a few practices where we've had to like go back to your phone and everyone's just in the corner, just like listening in the practice room, just like, what about this one? What about this one? And then you like plug it like next to your guitar pickup so everyone can hear this like really shittily recorded riff already. They're just
you're doing it through like the PA in the practice room. Are you there like, and everyone's there like, cat can barely hear it. And
and
it sounds good.
We just like, fuck's sake.
I kind of want to get into as well, like obviously you guys recently have sort of taken the word freaks and like created a really positive sort of meaning behind it. So what was like the idea behind it? Because like personally, I really like it because it's taken like a word that like has kind of described quote unquote moshers for years,
Yeah,
and like now it's created something positive.
definitely. Like, so I remember like getting called freak and a mosher, grebo, slipknot, blah blah blah, like fucking whatever, like as a kid. And like obviously like it was kind of fucking shit because where, like I said before, where I grew up, being different fucking meant you stood out. So my mum and dad were bikers, but the rest of the town where I grew up in was like an old mining town. So like a lot of people had left. There was a lot of fucking empty buildings, and like it was just a real rough fucking place. So when you're growing up with a mullet in primary school, where everyone's got like fucking short back and sides, it's like you stand out a little. It was a bit rough, but like the whole freaks thing basically came about because Jimmy, on the tour we did, he said it all the time anyway. Like he's always said freak, but like it was when we did a tour with like it was Knocked Loose, Acacia Strain, Harm's Way, and then it was us and Sanction. And he just kept saying it on that tour. It's like, where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? Where the freaks at? And James from Harm's Way, the fucking hench singer, like the fucking, like such a nice guy, all of them such nice guys. But he said it one night on stage and he was like, yo, where the freaks at? And like, obviously in his American accent. And I just remember like howling, like, what the fuck? That's so funny. And so it just kind of stuck from there because it's like, once you hear it for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, you're like, well, I can't unhear it now. Like, that's what I hear. Yeah. And so it just stuck from there. And then like, when you're running out of ideas for merch, you're like, what can we do? Where the freaks at? Oh, sick. Yeah, let's get that on merch. Oh, looks good. Perfect. Yeah. Oh, sick. Nice. Oh, let's put it some more, like on more merch. Let's just keep saying it. Not even like through like a conscious decision per se. It was just that Jimmy did it naturally. And then so we were like, well, let's just put that on merch because that's our thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's just, it's worked for us. And like, you know, it used to be for the moshers by the moshers, and now it's for the freaks by the freaks, but it's still the same shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool. I really like it because it has taken something that's like a lot of people get shit for it, and it's just turned it into something really positive. Like,
like negative connotations flipped on its head.
Yeah, it's like, it's I'm like, a freak, but I'd rather be a freak than normal. Like whatever society's quotation is.
That was it, and it's like that for me is like, because I just think like, I have massive imposter syndrome sometimes where I'm like, bro, how have you blagged it this hard to get to where you are? Like like the gag's going to be up soon. Like they're going to see through it. And I feel like that's so much because of where I come from. And I'm like, man, I feel like it sounds dumb, but I feel lucky to have got away from where I'm from. And it's like not shit talking on the people there. Cause like, it's like one of those things where like ignorance is bliss, but I'm like glad I got to move away and see the world a bit more, and then see the world a bit more and more and more and more, and learn more and get to have more like understanding and sympathy and empathy for like just the world in general and like a better worldview. But you know, like people and kids and stuff that grow up in those towns, it's like I hope they fucking hear higher power and they're like, yeah, fucking sick, I'm a little fucking freak, and then they've got something that they like, and then eventually go to a like, maybe they saw us with Neck Deep or Beartooth, or they like kind of like cottoned onto that term from us from there or whatever, or like some of those bigger tours that we've done. It's like, hopefully those kids that are not necessarily into hardcore or like into cool shit yet, maybe they get into cool shit from hearing us and like listening to us and like getting into like the bands that like we tour with or whatever that aren't those big bands. And that's the cool thing about it. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's welcome.
Yeah, it's building like a sense of community. Like, you know, there's a lot of bands that, you know, you'll have like, you know, Slipknot calling the fans like maggots and stuff like that. Yeah. But I've always liked that. I think it kind of creates like something bigger than just the band itself. Like you're creating this, like I said, like a sense of community, like, you know, these are your fans. And I think it gives something back to them as well.
Yeah, the freaks. It's definitely, yeah, just like positive. And it is just like, it is for like the fans. Like, it's obviously great fucking marketing, like in the, like, you know, when you look at it beyond like what it, like, if you look at it just as a shallow thing, like it is obviously very like easy to be like, oh, freaks. But it's like, it is very real and it is very us. And it is just literally from Jimmy saying it so much on stage at shows. It's like, yo, where the freaks at? And then like we come in with can't relate, or you know, seamless kicks and or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And that would be it. Like, and it's stuck with us naturally for a bit. I think one of the funniest things though, off topic, but while it's just in my head, Jimmy used to in America always be like, yo, we're Higher Power from Leeds, England. Like, thank you for coming out, blah, 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 blah. And we have a Twitter. Higher Power has a Twitter, but we don't use it because we all fucking suck at social media. Like Ethan runs the Higher Power social media and we can all have access to it. But like, we're very like, we have a uniform of how we do it and like keep it pretty like strict, and it works for us. But like we have a Twitter and we don't use it, but we used to check it on tour when we were trying to use it. And we saw this one tweet that was like, yo, saw Higher Power at like Berkeley yesterday. Crazy they came over here from New Zealand. And then we saw like another tweet that was like New Zealand again. And we were like, what the fuck? Like, and then we were like, Jimmy, say it. And because he's obviously got like the way Jimmy says it, it does kind of sound like, yo, we're Higher Power from New Zealand, Leeds, England. And it's just like, oh, fuck, like, you're going to have to stop saying that. So he's just like, Leeds, what does he say? He's just like, oh, we're Higher Power from Leeds. And then whatever, carry on with it. But like, that always makes me laugh. Just from shows.
Probably like some people walking around going, oh, yeah, that band from New Zealand. It's like, no, no.
Dude, so
like
silly.
One day when they get corrected and like, no, they're from Leeds, it's just going to shatter
gonna...
their reality. They're like,
oh, they're from London then.
They're from England. Oh, right, sound. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so I'll sort of get to the end point of the interview now. One way that we always like to leave it is, what advice would you give to a new musician starting out, and what advice would you give to your younger self?
To my younger self, I've gone to therapy. So I've been going to therapy in the pandemic. To my younger self, I would just be a lot kinder and a lot nicer about myself, to myself. And I would not be so judgmental of myself or of others, because it makes you not very happy inside. So be happier by not being nasty to yourself or others. And for new musicians, again, like, do things that feel right to you, even if people are telling you not to, and don't feel like because a riff sounds like somebody else's riff that you can't play it, because the way that you write that as a band and play that as a band can translate very differently. And as long as it's true and authentic, which I've said so much throughout this podcast, but as long as what you do is true and authentic and real to yourself, that is all that matters. And don't sell out. No, I'm kidding.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. Honestly, it makes me proud to be from. It makes me proud for Leeds to have such a band that can represent us, and you know, you guys are smashing it. I can't wait to see you guys again. You killed it at Bloodstock. I remember seeing you guys. Like, it was a very nice surprise, to be honest, but it was amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. We all got COVID. We filled in for Lowe's because they got COVID, and then we all got COVID. So that ended up technically being Louis' final show with Higher Power. Little bit of trivia there for you. But thank you for asking me to be on the podcast. And I'm just very grateful that I moved to Leeds, and so did all of Higher Power, so that we could start Higher Power in Leeds and be a Leeds band, because I love Leeds.
Yeah, I hope you'll be playing some more shows in Leeds soon.
Definitely. And I'll probably be streaming. We leave for tour on the 4th of April, so I'll probably try and fit some streams in before we go away, if you boys want to drop by.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Like, we'll have a little a stream bomb of Headbangers in there.
Nice, there we go. Yeah, that'll be it.
It's been, honestly, it's been great for me, like, speaking to you, because I've been a massive fan of Higher Power for like the longest time.
Thank you so much, man.
So getting to speak to you, I'm really happy, like, how, you know, like, that you came on.
Yeah, of course, bro. Like, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I'm just like I'm very fucking grateful that you asked me to be on. Like, I think it's always cool that people are interested, and you should always be grateful for people's like enthusiasm and interest, and you should always support that.
Definitely. Right, yeah. So it's been absolutely great talking to you, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Check him out on Twitch, and check out Fall From Grace as well.